purpose of Coles is to sustainably feed all Australians to live healthier and happier lives. And we really leaned into that during the COVID crisis because we knew that we're an essential service and we're a critical part of really leaning in and feeding the country and looking after our communities and our team members, really feeding the country through that period of time.
Talk to us about, we obviously saw a vision of, panic buying, supermarket shelves stripped of items like toilet paper, even fights in supermarkets over goods. How much of a challenge was that to Coles? What was your thinking when you started to see incidents like this?
Look, it was extremely worrying for all of us. We had two main purposes, and they were to protect our team members and to protect our customers. So what we did was very initially during the heavy panic buying of toilet paper, we had to put restrictions on products so that we made sure that more of the community could get access to those products, and particularly those that are vulnerable, so the elderly, the disabled, and those people that don't have the ability to come into a supermarket every day. So beyond that, we created Coles Community Hour, where Monday, Wednesday and Friday, for the first hour of trade, elderly customers could come in and shop exclusively, and on Tuesdays and Thursdays we made that for our frontline health workers and police and the army and Australian communities like that couldn't also get into their supermarkets at any hour of any day. And that was really well received. It was actually the highest supported initiative through the COVID crisis from any brand. So it really, really resonated with the Australian community because we were trying to look after those that couldn't get into the supermarket. We also shifted our whole online business to look after those people that were elderly or were in hibernation.
I mean, it was an interesting period for Coles and continues to be, because obviously your business was doing very well, but you had to take all these precautions. How challenging was it having the likes of the army or or police on hand? Have you experienced anything like that before?
No, I've never seen anything like that before. And it was disturbing, at a time of such uncertainty. There was such anxiousness about walking into a supermarket, not being able to buy what you normally buy. So often it's the first person that you lash out to is the person closest to you, and that could have been a team member or another customer. So we did a lot of communications around that period about being kind to other customers and being kind to our team members who were getting up every day and going into our stores and serving all of those communities, and in doing so, serving Australia.
What about staffing levels as well? Obviously, you needed as many staff as you could get, and then you turned into an employer for people who were losing their jobs and have continued to over this period. Tell us about the thinking behind those mass drives behind new staff.
Absolutely. Well, there was a lot of pressure on the team, as you can imagine, in the early days. So we put on 12,000 new team members in a period of weeks. So we've now got 12,000 more team members that are supporting the community and supporting the needs of their communities. So they were a lot of people from airlines and from some of the affected areas, restaurants. We quickly pivoted to a nightly show on the 7 News, a competitor of yours, for What's for Dinner, so that we could teach people how to, cook from scratch or give them some inspiration. And that was a lot of chefs who were just calling us and saying, my restaurant's closed, can I come and stack shelves or do anything like that? So some ended up doing that. Some helped us out on recipe inspirations and things like that. So we've had a broad spectrum of people contact us, and we've been very fortunate that we've been able to provide some employment opportunities for those that were the most affected during the crisis.
In a marketing sense, you continued to advertise throughout this period. Obviously, some of it was very, I suppose, basic in telling people when shops were open and what times they could get, what kind of products would be available, what was in shortage. How do you transition now into a kind of post-COVID attempting to kind of normalise your marketing especially?
What we did during that period was I separated my team into those that were working on the COVID communications, obviously very tight turnaround. So they were constantly working very long hours to get some of those more community service announcement type messages out there very, very frequently, probably more frequently than we would deliver those types of messages. And then a part of the team looking more longer term. So when customers were starting to look for some joy and some optimism, which was really around the Easter time period, where we started celebrating, albeit in a very, very different way to maybe Easter last year or what Easter will hopefully be like next year. So the team was split, that they were looking at our normal, how we would talk about value and solutions and events and seasons. They kept focusing on those types of things, and then the other team, part of the team, focused on COVID. So that's allowed us to transition now that we are talking a lot more about inspiration, about value for money, about solutions. So that team kept focused on that so we could manage that transition as we were moving from community service into more inspirational type messages as you would normally see from Coles.